Welcome to When Marriage and Purpose
Collide,
the
the
podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Cree Speaks Life.
Hi, I'm DJ, co-host of this podcast.
Hi, I'm Lucretia, co-host, and I am also a speaker, author, and purpose journey coach. I am passionate about helping single women of faith rediscover their purpose before the husband and blossom in their marriage. Why, you ask? Because there is purpose to attain, life worth living, and work needing to be done before inviting your future husband in your life. So I decided to bring my husband along to share a man's perspective. Men need encouragement and empowerment too.
Hi, this is DJ, your other host. If you're trying to figure out how to date with purpose, maybe you're single, desiring marriage, in a pause season, or even engaged, this podcast is what you need.
Go sit back, enjoy the convo we have on a daily basis.
Now, on to the episode.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode.
Hey.
We're back for another episode. Yeah. It's great. Oh, man.
I say like, I'm ready.
Episode of When Marriage
and Purpose
Collide, the podcast. And thank you all for everyone tuning in to this amazing season 2.
Man.
It's been a while. It's been a journey, hasn't it?
It's been fun.
It's been fun. I've been learning something new every time we have guests and on. And as you can see, y'all, we have another guest. I wish we had like a the claps.
Oh.
Yeah, the background.
I thought the other one. Or not that one.
Right.
Okay.
Our 4th guest here on the episode. And so we're happy. We're going to get into all the things in just a second. But you know, we always start off with the segment called Something Interesting.
You might as well just stick with it.
I think I like it. We just need a voice that comes in and says something interesting.
I'll do season 3.
Yeah.
We'll
do that, and we'll have something zoom in on that. So one of the things, did you want to start? Actually, you start off.
All right.
I feel like I'm gonna be talking more this episode, so that's why I want you to start.
Yeah, okay. So, well, it ain't really exciting. It's just right now we're in a transition season for ourselves right now, and it's been kind of crazy. Cars messing up. Well, yeah, how I am. Mm-hmm. Cars messing up. Switching jobs. What else? Kids getting sick while we doing this.
God.
Dog getting sick while we going.
The dog did get sick.
It's been a lot. Oh, plus changes at my job. It's been a lot of transition.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of transition.
Yeah.
During that time, though, we definitely been communicating more than we usually do.
Mm-hmm.
Outside our check-ins.
Yeah.
And it's been great doing that. It's also been a struggle because there's a lot of stress going on.
I almost forgot though to do more of it.
Yeah, well, you kind of forget because you get lost in everything. There's so much going on.
So much going on.
I usually when I plug into what I need to do, I'm like this. So it's good to it's good to stop and actually be like, okay, this is what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. I think I've been doing a good job with that, with explaining, okay, this is what I'm about to do. This is what we're gonna do here. We gotta do this, that kind of stuff. So, but outside of that, actually communicating just regular things, in home stuff, outside, wherever's going on.
Yeah, and so it was like maybe, I think it was last week when I sent you a text message because it was on my heart all day and I didn't know how to express it. And normally what happens if I can't express it over the phone or you in person, it'll come to me and I was like, well, I'll just text them. So I texted you how I felt and it was just my heart as like basically of what I'm going through, how I'm feeling with this emotionally. So I know I talked to the listeners about it, but a lot of times I deal with a bout of anxiety and depression. And so sometimes that comes about and it could go deep if I don't handle it.
Yeah.
So, and if I don't talk to anybody about it. So, through therapy and also with, speaking to you about it, it was important that I let you know what was going on. So with my mind space.
Yeah. And me helping don't help. Always try to fix it.
The part he said, I know this might not help.
It might not help.
We're supposed to be, this season is,
but we in that transition
season. This is going to be hard. I'm like, no, that didn't help.
It didn't help us.
But thank you for confirming that.
I was just letting you know, just so you remember.
As long as you knew what I was going through. So
yeah, I mean, use that. Let's see, because of the car situation, you've been home. Kids is here. That already by itself is like enough to break somebody.
Yeah.
So no, I understand.
So yeah, it's been a lot, but I do know that with us communicating and having, faith in the forefront, we do bi-weekly check-ins. Well, we actually missed it, and so that's what
we did it.
Well, we know we did it last night, but
we missed the one before that.
Yeah, and so so that was one of the things, but you can tell when we don't have it how it impacts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I just want to let the listeners in on what we've been going through. So y'all been seeing us.
Yeah, usually it's something interesting, it's something wild, but this time it's normal stuff.
Normal stuff.
Well, actually, no, it was still wild if you think about it.
Still wild. When we get out of it, the testimony, we will share with everything of all that's going on. But right now,
back to back.
Yeah, back to back hit, boom, boom, boom. But
car, kids, dog. Like,
but we'll share more about how we're going through it and what we're going through and how we came out of it. Because once we're out of it, I do want to bless folks and let folks know what we did. So yeah.
And just to say, kids and dog are good. We just waiting on the car.
So our guest is here, but I want to let her introduce herself. Like, first of all, let me tell you how this happened. I was on LinkedIn, just scrolling, you know how you do. I'm trying to do more with LinkedIn with things. And I saw her make a post and I looked at her profile and I was like, oh my gosh, we need her. We need her on. And this is the time when we didn't have any guests. I didn't think about it, but I was like, oh, we should have guests and we definitely need her. And so y'all know I'm all about marriage and family therapy, and I saw that she had all the credentials and all them letters. She worked hard for them letters. So I'm going to let her introduce herself, tell us all about her, and take us away.
Sure. I just want to say thank you for having me on your podcast. I really appreciate being invited here. This is my first time doing a podcast, so you can imagine how nerve-wracking it could have been, but you all have made it really comfortable. And I just met you, but I can already see, the love that you all have for each other. And it's really refreshing. It's really refreshing. And I appreciate you all talking about your communication and those check-ins are important. And that vulnerability is important. It is important to let your spouse know when you're not doing well. So they can't expect you to be that person that you always are when you're down. So that share is really important. So of course, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is LaGail Wilson. I'm actually from the Kansas City area, born and raised, but I reside in Maryland right now. Actually, Northern Maryland and Aberdeen, Maryland. So I've been here for the past 3 years. I am licensed as a clinical marriage and family therapist here in Maryland, also in DC and the state of Kansas. So just a little bit about, I'm in private practice. I do online therapy right now. I've been doing that since the pandemic. Thought why change it? It's working so far right now. One thing I do want to share, I'm also a mom, and I have a spouse. We've been married for 15 years. We've been together for 20.
Okay.
Wait, 25, actually 25. So we were like high school sweethearts. So we have 2 kids. And I haven't told very many people, but we have a 3rd one on the way. So
congratulations.
So hopefully nobody that doesn't hear this before we tell them. But anywho, but yeah, that is about, I guess that's the most. I enjoy reading. I enjoy spending time with people, like pouring into people. Also with that and with my profession, I have to take time for myself. That downtime is very important. So Yeah. So is there anything else that I missed and you all want to know?
No, that was great.
She even hit us with a surprise.
I feel
Surprise.
honored. Thank you so much, Ligel, for that. So I appreciate the introduction. So did you want to, we have 3 questions that we like to ask our guests. I'll let DJ go ahead and
so yeah. So the first question we have is marriage and purpose colliding. What does that mean to you?
Yeah. So marriage and purpose colliding. So for me, I think that when an individual like find their purpose in life and also finding a mate that supports you in that purpose, as well as you also supporting them in that purpose, I think it's a beautiful thing. And it doesn't mean you have to have everything all figured out. It's just you have to know where you're going, at least start. Because we change and we evolve, but at least having a really good foundation of what your purpose is. And when you find that person that supports that and can support you in that, I think that's what happens when marriage and purpose collide.
It's powerful, isn't it?
I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what I'm talking about. Okay.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you for that one.
You're welcome.
What compelled you to join this conversation and on this platform?
Oh, well, first getting the invite, that was really, really nice. And also then stretching myself and taking the opportunity to like show up, like when someone called me or invited me somewhere, I could have said no because nerves or whatever, but I thought I would challenge myself a little bit. And I said I have some knowledge and some experience on this topic. So I think I have something to share that could be valuable or could help change someone's life or add value to their life or to their relationship.
Y'all listening to that out there? Like for real, like she's stepping out in her calling and her purpose and challenged herself. If anything, out of anything, you're hearing this right now, whatever you need to be doing, you have the skills and talents for, step out on faith and do it big. So she's doing it big today. All right.
I have a feeling that whoever's going to come up next is going to help people like ease into therapy more. I don't know. It just popped up in my head.
No, that's so good.
All right, let's go to the next question.
Come
on, pop up. What are your thoughts surrounding the current state of singles and dating nowadays?
Of course. So, of course, I'm no expert on dating because I haven't dated it's been years, but I can only imagine like what people who are single are going through. I have friends or siblings that are single when they talk about the struggles. Some of the struggles that I have observed is, the connection. It's hard to make a connection with someone. A lot of times dating is done online or through social media, and you can still make connections with someone, but sometimes you may not always get that person that they perceive or that you perceive who they are online. They can tell any story they want, and sometimes that could be really difficult. Having conversations and communication, that might be a little bit more difficult for this dating generation coming up. And I know that there's people dating in all different generations, but trying to deal with the online stuff could be really, really difficult, especially if you're used to that courtship, that going out, that talking a lot. And also with everybody being so busy and having their hands in everything in this world, like running 24 hours a day, it's really hard to make time for connection and relationships. So I think that makes it difficult for singles and people out there dating right now.
Yeah.
The other part about that is though, with technology, there's a more simplistic component to it. Like you can meet more people in a shorter amount of time. Yeah. So I think you can just kind of make it work and really, know your limits and your boundaries around that and, what you will and won't do around that. So, there's some good things happening with technology, but there are also a lot of difficulties as well.
Man, and that's so key right now, technology. And it's not just, when you think about romantic relationships, but even friendships and family, like those dynamics have changed too, and how we communicate, which makes you well-rounded when you have your system around you, so
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's
that is key.
definitely a transition.
Yeah. So thank you so much for answering our 3 questions. And so now we're going to get into the good stuff. We want
Okay.
to know some things. I'm so excited to jump into this because I just love talking about it. I love talking about it. I know I don't have the letters that you have, but I just love bringing in people, and just me, and like the one reason we started this podcast is because we love talking about relationships, and a lot of people come to us for advice out of nowhere, like,
Okay.
or they want to glean in because they see, and so we give them the real, but we love to do that. So anyway, don't let me talk about me no more. So I've noticed a lot of people that are actually going into therapy a lot more now. Like even myself, I was on the fence some years ago. Pandemic hit, and there's a lot of things with being a mom and working and being a wife and all those things. And
All
I
the
was,
outside stuff.
yeah, all the outside stuff. And I was like, you know what? I need to go ahead and do this. But there are some people who are still on the fence with therapy. And so I didn't know if maybe there's some advice you can give to those people who are like, I don't know. I did talk to a family member some time ago, and he told me the reason why he doesn't want to do therapy, or is on the fence about it, I should say, is because I don't want everybody up in my business, is what he actually said. He said, I don't want to share all of that. I don't know if I can get that deep. And I said, well, you never know with a few sessions, you can, but I want to just hear from your point of view, or what you can give as advice for anybody on the fence with therapy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I love that you brought that up because I've heard that a lot too, especially in our community. Like, I don't want to everybody know my business, or I don't want to share my business. But I think a lot of times people are afraid of being judged.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one aspect of it, because if you think about it, if you're going in sharing something with a perfect stranger, hopefully, you'll get to that point where you get to know this person and feel safe with this person, the therapist, where you don't feel like it's a total stranger. But this person, whatever you say in that room stays in that room.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about your cousin hearing about it,
Mm-hmm.
your friends, your family member, and everybody's talking about it. That's the difference. And so I think it's just that fear of being judged, this fear of if I say it, if I speak it, it's real.
Mm-hmm.
My advice is, I would say therapy is for everyone, but I would say not every therapist is for everyone. A lot of people have had, difficulties with therapists where they've had bad experiences, and they just kind of chopped it up as to therapy is not for me. I think you just have to find the right person for you, just like with any other provider, like a doctor or a dentist or a barber or a hairstylist. Like, you want to find somebody that fits you, that's going to give you what you need. And so that's the same thing when you're looking for a therapist. So I would say just kind of take time to figure out, find that person that's right for you. It's okay if you ask for a consultation, ask some questions, get a feel of their personality so that you feel comfortable before actually making that step. So I think that's really important, just like you would with maybe, somebody, if you go into a beauty salon, you might ask your friend, like, who does your hair, right? You see their work. So same thing, you might want to ask questions of this person that you're thinking about going to see if it's a good fit before you actually commit to going to therapy. But I think it is for everyone.
That's good. That's good. I think that lends a good ear to folks who are on the fence, because the consultations, those do help. And I think what happened with me was all I wanted a woman. I wanted a Black woman, first off. And I think that's another thing that our community, we have specifics, like we want to find,
Yeah.
and so we just target in on what we want to find. But they were all booked. Like everybody I would booked up. And so I was like, what in the world? I finally made the decision to do it. And they were all booked up. And my mom had the same issue when she was in California, where she tried to make, and then finally, it was just persistence and me not giving up. And then I finally found an opening for one. And the first initial call, I was sold, like the way she, responded. And like, you're right, she didn't judge. And so that was one thing that I was like, she was like, well, if you decide, I was like, I'm deciding right now that I want to. She was like, well, okay, kind of thing. And so I think it is it is a good thing that you brought that up, that the judgment and all that, and that consultation, you could feel, you know, even through the phone or through the Zoom call, you know, whether or not you want to pursue that. So that was good advice. Thank you.
Yeah, there's something else I want to add is, is sometimes people want to wait until they feel like something traumatic or they're in crisis before they go to therapy. You don't have to wait until you're in crisis. You know, you can go. It's just like any other maintenance that you do, you know, for your health. It's okay to not be in crisis or not be, you know, not have a traumatic event occur in order for you to go. And it's not for crazy people. You know, I think that's the stigma, is that people that go to therapy are crazy, and that's not the case. Like, it's for people who want some support, someone who wants someone to talk with, wants someone who wants to just get things out without being feeling judged. Also, a lot of times people feel like they can't go to their friends and family because friends and family, they're going to give you advice. They're going to be emotionally attached to what you're telling them, and so you're not going to get an unbiased set of opinions or suggestions or advice or support. It's going to come attached with something when you are talking with friends and family. A lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times that does happen. So, you know, I mean, you don't have to wait until something's wrong or you're in crisis in order to start, you know, seeking someone.
Good. That's good. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. So we did have an episode a while ago about, I think it was first season, about premarital counseling and how our journey with premarital counseling, and we talked about the benefits and, you know, some people who were still on the fence about that. But one thing that we talked about that we wish we could have done was also incorporated therapy with it. And then somebody who I coached, she said she was actually serious with the gentleman, and they're married now, but before she was asking me, you know, should I do therapy, should I do premarital counseling? And I was like, girl, do both. I said, y'all do both, individual, together, all that, you know. But tell us your take on this about therapy versus premarital counseling, like the difference, but also what's the benefit of that? Is that doing too much? Like, yeah, give us your take on that.
Sure. I would say therapy and premarital counseling. I think premarital counseling is good for anybody that is dating and plans to be married. You know, I think it's a good thing to go and see, because go and talk to someone about. And I know people can receive premarital therapy from different people. Like, you might a lot of people go to their pastor at their church. Sometimes a pastor might be also a counselor or therapist, and sometimes they might just, you know, have the role of pastor. So sometimes people will seek counseling there. And a lot of times that might be, under Christian values and things like that, more counseling around that. You can also receive premarital counseling from, a marriage therapist or someone who's familiar with working with couples. Part of what premarital counseling does is it really allows you to kind of go in and discuss some of those things that might come up during a marriage, like roles, child rearing, whether or not someone wants to have kids or not, like financial obligation and situations, like all of those are important before going into a marriage, because these are things that become huge issues in relationships. And sometimes people don't think about that until they're faced with it. And so that's what premarital counseling is good for. And you're going in as a couple. The individual therapy is also really important, because a lot of times what you're dealing with, some of the issues you're dealing with as a couple, could be from individual traumas or things that have happened, and it could be interfering with your relationship. So it's good to go ahead and seek individual therapy as well. And one thing about therapy is going to look at like what's laying underneath the surface. A lot of times when you go into counseling, and some people don't distinguish the two, I think they intersect, but I think there's sometimes some differences between therapy and counseling.
Sure.
So sometimes, and some people may disagree, but for me, for professionally and from, where I stand, I think sometimes with counseling, people might go in and, okay, let's see where the problem is. Let's work on the problem. Let's work on some behavior changes. Let's figure out like how we can stop this problem from occurring by putting in some different behaviors.
Mm.
Well, sometimes in therapy, you might go in and you might look at it a little deeper than that. You might say, well, when did this occur? Let's talk about your family and the family of which you grew up in. How did communication happen? You're going to go dig, and you really are going to figure out and learn a lot more about yourself, also about your partner. Just hearing them talk about their childhood and how they grew up with the experience. You may have heard some of it before, but you hear it with a different ear and a different lens when you're talking about it in therapy. So I think both of them are good. I think seeking some type of third party, someone that can help you, kind of navigate through these situations. But it's also important to go to someone who knows what they're doing.
That's the thing.
You're going to someone that is biased or has, a certain agenda that they're pushing, then that's different. You might come out wounded or scarred or hurt, and you might not ever want to invite anybody else, any third party, into your relationship. So you really have to be careful with who you seek counseling and therapy from.
Yeah. Because I think that one of the things is and she did bring up that when she was asking me about going to premarital counseling or therapy, she was like, oh, he's not going to want to go because of his culture. He believes that he needs to handle it between him and God, kind of thing. And, and it, it will be looked down upon if he were to go. And I said, well, that's something that you need to think about, because if it's something you need to work through, you want him to work it through before y'all get married, kind of thing. So I didn't really too much. We had ended our sessions and things like that, but I didn't follow up with her too much, but they're married now. But it was just something that she brought up that I was like, that's serious, and dealing with someone who is from another culture, but y'all are seriously dating and you want marriage together. That's tough. If he says no, but you're like, yes, I need it. So
yeah. I mean, it's really important that you all have the same, value system.
mm-hmm.
If one doesn't want to go to therapy, then how do we work through these issues that we're having when we can't see past our own wants and needs and desires? We need someone else. Like, how at least having a plan for that. Other than that, this person could just go themselves and learn ways to kind of deal with what's happening in their relationship. Yeah. And hopefully it's someone who is familiar with systems, like how is this relationship impacting this individual's well-being, and helping them kind of navigate through that. So, I mean, it could be helpful even when the other person refuses to go to therapy, for the one partner to go and get some type of help. I mean, it impacts the relationship for the better.
Man,
a lot of times.
Definitely. I can only imagine how much. So now, my bad. Sorry,
I'm here.
I know you're in the zone. I'll be being here. I forgot you were here. I'm on. So the next question. Okay, go ahead.
I know right before our premarital counseling, I was kind of thinking like, oh, okay, it's kind of like a therapy in a way, which she stated that, and I kind of had that same mindset, like, okay, we're gonna have to dig deeper than what you usually have to do. Yeah, it's like, okay, but actually going through it, I see the differences between therapy, although I ain't been through it, but just what I've heard and seen. Counseling, as far as premarital, it depends on who you're going to. I know our pastor was kind of like a half and half. He definitely helped us out. We took some nuggets out of it, but also we had paperwork. And I usually don't like the whole packet thing where you're just like, here, fill this out, and there you go. But there's some pastors do it because it's a requirement in order to get married. So they just give you the packet. Oh, okay, this and this, and y'all good.
Right.
Instead of, like you said, therapy is more of, I'm really just focused on the core problem, the core issues, and not trying to eliminate it, but heal from it. Where counseling is more like, okay, we're going to try to give you structure on how to deal with stuff and then keep it moving. So that was my take on it.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. That kind of You know, some people would agree that there's no difference, and not just premarital counseling, but just counseling,
General.
period. You know,
Uh-huh.
sometimes, but yeah.
Yeah. And I had a conversation with one of my friends because she was like, I was telling her about, me individually wishing that I went through therapy before, my relationships, and before that, like it wasn't a thing, and she was like, well, how would that have changed if you did go versus, I was like, I mean, I don't know, but what she was able to pull out of me in the 5 years of marriage that we had, and just all that, like, it was deeper. It went before marriage. It was my childhood stuff that I brought up, and it was, I guess, going through it now, it uncovers so much. It's a lot to deal with, because you're like, man, if I would have covered this 5 years ago, or some time ago, I wouldn't have to think about it now and have stress, and then dealing with telling him and all that stuff. So I saw it as overwhelming, I guess, because I was like, man, I wish I would have known before
Okay.
all these things. But she was like, what difference was that, kind of thing. But I was kind of glad she brought that up, because the last episode we had of the couple on, they were talking about how healing is a journey, that is forever, it's forever going. And so regardless if it wasn't, and if, stuff brought up, stuff didn't bring up, something else is happening. Something else is coming up, it's in you and going to be brought up outside out of you, so you're going to have to work through it together regardless, kind of thing. So yeah.
Those are my same thoughts as well. It is a journey, and who knows, 5 years ago, you may have not been ready to deal with whatever was in front of you. You have to sometimes go through things in order to be able to like face these other things that come up, like present day. So it is a journey, life is a journey. And I always say, just like, trust the process, because your growth, like who you were 5 years ago, you're totally different than that person you were 5 years ago, than the person you are now. So yeah,
that's good.
It's a journey.
Yeah.
All right, you can hit the pause or something.
Oh, hit the pause. Okay.
Sorry, kids.
Somebody's coming. Okay, hold on. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to ask, and I feel like you kind of already said it. You kind of mentioned it before, but I know that there's this thing called the 7-year itch, or the 7-year something like that. And there's all these other things. And a lot of times I feel like I have to find ways to prevent us from getting towards the deep end, so I'm like, well, maybe we should go to therapy now, or maybe we should have started a while back before this or whatnot. But is there a certain stage that you would say, or a season in someone's marriage, that you would suggest therapy, like wholehearted, like, no, y'all need to go now, versus y'all could try it and just to see what happens? Like, what's your take on that?
Yeah, well, I would say that every season of a marriage is a good place to go to therapy, because I know you mentioned like the 7-year itch, but nobody really tells you and prepares you for that first year of marriage. That first year of marriage is like one of the hardest times, because you're getting acclimated to everything. You're trying to figure out like what this role is and who you want to be in this role. So nobody talks about that first year of marriage. So that first year is great. Starting premarital counseling is great. First year, life transitions are great times to go to counseling. When you have births, deaths,
think about that.
Sick parents, all of these different transitions are great times to go to therapy, because there's change is constant. And anytime you experience change, there's going to be this tenseness there, because you're trying to learn how to adapt and regroup around like this change, this new family dynamic that's happening, even moves, new jobs, new schedules, the kids going to school, the kids leaving, empty nesting, all of those places are good times to go to therapy. But I will say, one thing that I do see is when couples wait until one person already has a foot out the door, or one person wants out of the marriage, that is not the best time to come to therapy.
Oh, really?
You should come way before that. Before you get to that point. I mean, it's good to still come to therapy, at that point, but the work is so much harder, and it's, I mean, you're kind of almost made your decision already, and then
Mhm.
you come and ask for somebody else to help when
Sure.
people have already made their decision in the relationship.
Mhm.
That makes it hard.
Mhm.
I would say still come,
Mhm.
but as far as like the process, before you even get to that point, go to therapy.
No, that's so good. I like what you said about life transitions, because oftentimes we think it's, it's about he doesn't listen to me, I don't listen to him, we're on bad terms, da da da. Like it's about that, but I've never heard anybody say, "Oh, we're going to therapy because we're about to, we have a new addition to the family, or someone passed and we need to work through this." Like we experienced a family member passing, and I went through therapy, but that would have been a great time for. I mean, all of our family honestly need to go to therapy, but I'm thinking about how it was during that season and how much that would have helped us talk through things,
Yeah.
as a family. And even thinking about my mom and dad when my grandmother was passed, or even on the journey to when she was transitioning, how hard it was on the family, how that would even want to help. Like that is a game changer in my mind for me. Like I didn't think about that. Like
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
wait until it's, oh, we're not talking to each other, we're not communicating. It's more life
Yeah.
changes, any change that's going on, anything that you want to end up changing soon, or you're thinking about it and you don't know how to tell your partner, like
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
those things. Thank you for that. Yeah.
You're welcome. Those are the start of those difficulties in communication, when things kind of change, and people don't know how to address it or how to work through it. Sometimes people avoid it or ignore it and pretend like it's not there.
Sure.
That's when problems start to kind of fester until everybody's arguing every day, or people are leaving leaving the home, things like that. That's when you know that this issue has been festering for a while.
Mm-hmm. No, that's good. I that's a key right there. So the next thing is something you've mentioned in the notes that you sent us was disarming defensiveness. And I was like, that is good. I was like, I don't know. It's so many places my mind went with when I heard it. And so explain what that is, and maybe, am I defensive? Are you like what's a character trait of somebody who is defensive? So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, of course, of course. So I have a couple of notes about that, but it's really a feeling of needing to defend or explain your actions when someone like expresses their feelings or thoughts to you.
Oh, wow.
This is what happens within that person is that person really tries to defend themselves from feeling hurt, anger, being ashamed, or if they perceive like the other person is criticizing them, so they feel this need to defend themselves. So yeah.
Wow. So they feel like it's the need. It's because I'm sure it's just something within them. You're saying that
Yes.
that comes out of maybe an insecurity or something that they've dealt with, trauma, whatnot, and trigger, and they just already just defense mode.
Yeah, yeah. They put up these walls, they can't hear anything the other person is saying, all of these things happen because sometimes they're really trying to protect something, protect themselves, protect their vulnerabilities,
Gotcha.
protect their egos and things like that.
Wow. So how would someone automatically say, yes, I do that? Or would you have to call it out in that person? Like, are you able to see it right when they're talking, or can somebody be like, yeah, I am defensive? Like, like that.
Well, if you think about it, a lot of times that's a negative. It has a negative connotation.
Yeah.
So people don't want to admit to it. But if they sit with it and they be really honest, they can call it out for themselves. But a lot of times, it does have to be called out, pointed out in order for them to recognize it. Because at that point, they're in the moment. They're trying to survive that moment there. So they're not thinking about anything else but surviving that moment.
Survival tactic for them.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense in that. So let's talk about how would someone really disarm defensiveness. Like if they know, now you called it out, they called it out, it's truth, it's the honest part of their life, and they realize that's what it is, who they are. How would someone deal with that? How
Yeah.
would, yeah, how do you get out of that?
Yeah, so there are a couple of different ways, but you know, in the moment, if you notice someone, a friend, a spouse,
Mhm.
if they feel like they need to protect themselves, and sometimes
Mhm.
you're not always in a position to kind of help them out of that, but if you are,
Mhm.
being able to recognize, call out, and empathize, like what you see, you know, I'm
Mhm.
noticing that you're hurt, you know.
Mm.
We all know what it feels like to be hurt. And when people can feel seen
Yeah.
and they can feel heard, they can let those guards down. They can, you know, let people in at that point. And
Mhm.
then that kind of disarms them at that moment. When you can call out, empathize, you know, really allow them to be seen. That helps with the defensiveness.
Mhm.
On the other side of that, like if you are needing to tell your spouse something who's defensive and you really want to get your point across
Mhm.
and you know they're going to have a hard time listening because they are defensive, one thing that you might do is you might use I statements. And so
Oh,
I don't know if you're familiar with I statements, but they're
yes.
very, very simple. You know, you might say, you know, I felt really hurt
Mhm.
and used when you did X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
You know, how can someone argue with that? Because they're
Mhm.
your feelings. You know, people
Yeah,
might try. Don't get me wrong. You might have people that might try to argue with you about your feelings, but
sure.
you really don't. A lot of times people try to avoid blame. And if
Mhm.
you are keeping the you out of that conversation, saying you made me feel this way, or
Mhm.
you're this and you did that, and you just say, you know, I was really hurt by that. You know, I was really
Mm.
hurt when this happened. I felt hurt. A lot of times, if your spouse or your partner or your friend, they can see that, you know, well, I don't want to hurt you. That wasn't my intention. That
Mhm.
can disarm them as well and get them to kind of open up a little
That's
bit.
good. That's good. No, that helps a whole lot. I'm gonna pause so you can come in and sit down. Sit in there. No, that helps a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Because that's the part of the next thing we're talking about, communication. But I think some people are just insecure with even getting to that point to even say that because they're in fear of rejection from that person and what they might say after they say that. So I
Yeah.
feel hurt, and then that other person might not come back and say, say anything else to that, or, oh, okay, you're hurt. All right, carry on. So yeah, about the next day or
Yeah.
what we're doing. But yeah, I mean, even getting to that point, I know that was hard for me when we just using those I statements, even though we were told to do it, it was still hard for me. I had to always tell you, you didn't use the I statement. I don't know if I felt heard because you didn't repeat what I said.
Yeah.
I remember
Never listening. Yeah.
our first
Yeah.
year of marriage, it was like, you didn't premarital counseling. Where's the book at?
We
Where's it?
both was like, hold on, are we using the right thing? Are we
Pulling
saying?
it out, like the notes, pulling out notes to figure out we did it right. But no,
Yeah.
that's key. That I like how you said that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you are right. You did say something. There has to be a level of safety there, you know, because
Safety.
you just can't go and say that to just anybody, right? You can't share those vulnerable feelings with anybody, but hopefully in these partnerships and these relationships, at least there's some sense of safety there where those words can be communicated to the other partner.
Which is so important. This is why we tell you, tell singles out there. This is why we have this podcast as a voice. Are you safe with that person? Are you safe with sharing with that person? If you're not, then that's a problem. You need to figure that out. Go to therapy.
Man,
Yeah.
it'd be difficult too.
Yeah.
We're trying to share with somebody and they'd be like, that's stupid.
Right.
Oh, just shut it down, huh?
Right. That's not cool.
Yeah, and that gives you a clue that that person is not
Yeah.
emotionally intelligent,
There you
and
go.
that's going to cause a lot of issues. So if that person's not willing to go and seek their own work around that, then that might not be a person for you at this point in your life. If they can't help provide that sense of safety, because that's important in a relationship. You have to have that safety because there has to be that vulnerability there in order for you to have that connection.
That's so good. That's so good. That's good. And so we're talking about this communication and all this what we need to do in relationships. We kind of talked about it in the beginning and the intro. So what do you see as the 4 types of communication that are detrimental to relationships? Like what's happening out there? Yeah.
Yes, definitely. So there's this this psychologist and his wife, John Gottman and his
Oh
wife.
yeah.
So this is the Gottman method. You've heard of it.
Mhm.
So they named these 4 types of communication after, the apocalypse, the 4 horsemen. So they say these are a sure way to tell, like, if these types of communications are happening in your relationship on a regular basis, this could definitely lead to divorce. So the first one is criticism. And so when you think about criticism, like verbally attacking your partner's personality or characteristics about them, for example, like, why didn't you wash the dishes? You do it, you're lazy, saying things like that, really attacking that person who they are. Like, that's not going to work in a relationship. You have to learn how to respect your partner and treat them as a human being. Treat them how you want to be treated. Or better yet, treat them how they want to be treated. The second one is contempt. So, like, when you attack your partner's sense of self, this could be like insults, but this could also include like rolling your eyes when they're, behind their back or in front of their face, snide comments, sarcasm, just really like this contempt there. That is also detrimental to your relationship. If you have a lot of that going on. So working on that. The other 2, one is defensiveness. So we just talked about defensiveness. So playing the victim, or, keeping yourself from taking responsibility and reversing the blame. So your partner tells you something you don't like, something that you did that they don't like. And your response is like, you did it to me first. Or it's because you did this. That's why I did that. That's not taking responsibility for your actions. Nobody makes you do anything. You get to choose how you respond and how you react. So being responsible for you is very important in terms of, defensiveness. The 4th one is stonewalling. So a lot of times people pick this up from parents or other relationships that they saw, the withdrawing or the avoid conflict, the silent treatment, being distant, not responding to your partner, especially if your partner's putting out bids for love and you just ignoring them. All that is like emotional neglect. That is not good in any relationship. It doesn't create a sense of safety, a sense of like connection. It cuts all of that off. So all those 4 are detrimental in any relationship. And you notice that you're doing that, there's things that you can do to kind of help. Like, there's antidotes to those.
That's good. And that's where, I'm sure you're saying that they need to come to someone like you.
Of course. Definitely, and learn better ways to communicate with one another.
And that's the thing right there that I'm seeing with even some family members and their struggles within marriage, where I see the 4 types that are in that, and I'm like, I want them to come to to get there, because there's only so much we can do. When we're seeing somebody, falling, it's only so much we can do. We can tell them, like, till we're blue in the face, that you all need to get help, and what we see also is the impact on the children, because all this is being displayed. So you're wondering why there's an act out at school, or the teacher calls, or even an act out with the parent. With them, we're hearing stories come back, and I'm like, but I see what y'all doing. Like, it's a lot of stuff. Like, I wish it could be a whole deal, for that. And so that's where, I can only do so much, with telling them, what they can do. It needs to be something worked through. And so I encourage anyone out there, especially if you have children, to go and seek out the support and the help.
Do it while you're in pregnancy.
Oh, yes.
Of course.
I'm starting to come up with this whole theory I told you before.
Oh, yeah, you did tell me.
Where whatever energy you have going on during that time, during pregnancy, is what the energy your kid's gonna have coming out. Like, if you're more structured and you're working on things, and the household is not as stressful other than whatever's going on in the pregnancy, then the baby's going. I feel like the baby's going to come out a little bit more in tune with you.
Mm-hmm.
Where if your household is always
Chaos.
stress and chaos and all this other stuff going on, baby gonna be like that too. Why the baby always hitting on me and doing the kicking? And it's like, well, if you was doing that during the pregnancy and
from pregnancy to now, yeah. In
it's like you're receiving that and your baby's feeding off of that.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, exactly.
Is that a thing?
Yes,
Also,
there's some science to that. It's very important. Definitely that pregnant women also seek mental health services. Like if mom is anxious, or even if mom goes through a car accident, I've met with clients where they have been impacted by things that have happened in utero. And a lot of times they may not know until we start talking about family history. And there's questions around, what mom was like. If they have that information, like, did mom get in an accident? Was mom depressed? Was any of that going on? Because it does impact attachment in children, which, that's their foundation. So it grows up and impacts them and in their relationships with other people. So, I mean, it's really important that, we are doing the work now, because we can stop like some of these generational curses that tend to happen. And you don't even know that you're passing them down sometimes until it's too late, until it's too late. So it's good to go to therapy just to kind of figure out those things for yourself so that you can understand, like, what is it that I'm carrying around? What hurts and what pain am I carrying around that I could really be impacting my kids and other family members around me. So definitely doing the work. This is so important. The work that I see clients do in therapy, they change family dynamics. You can't change people, right? They have to be responsible for their own change, but just how you interact with them causes a chain reaction. It causes them to respond differently to you. It causes them to, when you're behaving differently, it really, they take notice of that. Sometimes it might not always be wanted if the family, it thrives off chaos, but people in therapy change their family history in one way or another by going to therapy. So it's that important.
Change your family. Y'all hear that? Change your family history, like the whole trajectory.
Oh yeah.
Like everything. Like that should tell you so much more of the work that needs to be done. Invest in yourself. Like invest in yourself. Don't wait to invest in yourself. So you know what? I so appreciate this conversation, Ligel. Like I had a great time learning.
I did too.
This was awesome. So if the audience wants to connect with you in any way, is there anything that you would like to share? Any handles or anything where they can reach you?
Sure. So I'm not really that savvy with social media. Like I have somebody that helps me with that, but you can definitely find me on Facebook by searching Open Hearts Therapy Services. I'm on there. My website also, www.openhearts with an S therapy KC for Kansas City.com. So yes, anybody can reach out to me. Definitely, I would like to stay connected with you all. If you all want me back, I would be more than happy to come back. I love what you were doing. So please, I accept any future invites.
Sure.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And, is there any final advice you'd like to give our listeners today?
Oh, yeah, we talked about so much, but I think the point that we were driving home today is that therapy is very, very important. So, don't be afraid to, just try it. Just go out and do it. But the important thing is that you have to be committed and you have to be serious about it. If you're not ready, then don't do it. But if you're ready to make changes, if you're ready to be serious about your life and what you want for yourself, then I would say just give it a try.
All right. Well, thank you so much for this opportunity to have you on our podcast. This was such a pleasure and we appreciate you. So y'all. So thank you so much. Y'all listen, y'all share, review this. Let us know what you think. Let us know if this helped you in any way. Okay. Share with someone definitely that is probably on the fence as well.
Get some therapy.
And get some therapy. All right, y'all. Have a good one. We'll see y'all next time.
Bye.
All right.
Peace.
Thank you for tuning in to When Marriage and Purpose Collide, the podcast with your hosts, DJ and Lucretia. And we hope you enjoyed our conversation and advice. If you enjoyed the episode and you'd like to support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch the latest, you can follow Lucretia M. Haley, that's LuCretia M. Haley, on Instagram, and subscribe to Cree Speaks Life on YouTube. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.